Minutes that may come before it. Roll call, Mr. Manfredi.
Ms. Sokolowski,
Here.
Ms. Barton,
Here.
Ms. Flanagan, Mr. Stokely,
Here.
Ms. Leonard,
Here.
Ms. Tutino,
Present.
Mr. Griffin,
Here.
Mayor Frost.
We have prayer council.
Please rise. O divine Master, in deep humility we place ourselves, our thoughts, and our plans in thy hands. We beg thee to fill our minds and our wills with the gifts of wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, and piety. Help us not to think of self or personal desires, but rather consider the responsibilities laid upon us. Help us to promote as far as possible the welfare of our people and to treat them with impartiality and justice. Grant us the power to set a good example in thought, word, and deed, so that thy blessings will be showered upon us and the people we represent. Amen.
President of the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Mr. President, let the record reflect that Ms. Flanagan is present.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. What do you say there?
Proclamation.
Proclamation? Okay. We have to start off, we have a proclamation for St. John Day AME Church on 8th Avenue, and the mayor will read the proclamation. You bring somebody up there with you?
$66, isn't there something?
20?
63?
I thought I was
It was on 20.
for
It was
us.
on.
In honor and appreciation for the historic St. John African Methodist Episcopal Church. Whereas the St. John AME Church was listed on the Historic Registry in 2001, held its bicentennial celebration in July of 2016, and is the oldest African-American church in the borough. The Reverend Edith J. Patterson Payne has led the congregation in its enduring service to the community as pastor for the last 22 years, and their presence has had an enormous positive impact. Whereas the historic St. John AME Church property was purchased for a mere $200 from farmers who previously tilled the land, and after undergoing a renovation to build an annex, named the former pastor Elton Hooten in the 1980s. This righteous house of prayer still stands on the original site. And whereas the St. John AME Church, whose motto is WOW, which stands for Workshop, Outreach, Winning Souls, has given back to aid those in need by running a food cupboard and clothes closet ministry that's helped over 100 people each week, and also through working closely with other philanthropic individuals from local churches in our own community to nationally recognized organizations such as the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation of Philadelphia. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Borough of Conshohocken, in recognition of the historic St. John AME Church, a true pillar of this community, extends its appreciation to and honors the historic St. John African Methodist Episcopal Church for more than 148 years of service and faith in the Borough of Conshohocken. This day, November 16th, Preacher Manfredi, Free Manager, Mr. Griffin, President, and myself, Mayor Bob Frost.
God bless.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Convocation, tell them to send our best wishes and see you after the holidays for the annual sweep and sing.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. Manfredi.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. The next item of business is the consent agenda. The consent agenda has 4 items, which is the approval of the public meeting minutes, the October ending treasurer's report and payables, authorizing the borough manager to contract with Park Mobile LLC to offer an electronic payment service alternative for the borough's parking meters, and authorizing the borough to begin the application process for an EPA grant opportunity to aid in funding Leland remediation work. All of those, the last 2 items especially, were discussed at the work session and approved by council for this voting meeting. So the consent agenda items A through D, if it is in order, a motion to approve items A through D.
Have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Or opposed? Motion carried.
The next item, as you know, Mr. Griffin, is to discuss the 2017 capital projects. The council has held several budget hearings and meetings on revenues, expenses. At the last meeting, reviewed all funds, leaving outstanding the capital projects fund. We put together something to try to make your decision-making a little bit more illustrative. So I'm going to ask Mr. Hughes if he would come forward. But as I do that, just a few housekeeping items. The 2016 budget appropriated $90,000 this current year for flooring, surface, and fitness equipment at the Fell. We also budgeted $76,000 for playground equipment at Haynes Salvati Park. Of that $32,000 was for a pavilion. I raised at the last budget meeting the need to move forward because we're running out of time. If we don't move forward on purchasing these pieces of equipment and receive them, and I did get confirmation today that in both cases we should be able to receive them this year yet, but we have to move quickly, that we won't be able to account for it in 2016's budget. So unless council objects, I'd like to move forward with the previously approved in this 2016 budget of getting the equipment and the flooring surface for the Fell and the equipment at Haynes Salvati Park. So unless there is an objection, I'll move forward since that was already approved by council in this current budget. The one side note to that would be that in the 2017 budget, the poured-in-place surface is budgeted for Haynes Salvati. So the plan would be to take delivery by the end of the year of the park equipment for Haynes Salvati as well as the equipment for the Fell before December 31st. We think we could get that done by talking to the vendors. And it's under state contract in both cases, so there's no bidding required. So unless anyone objects, I'll move forward with that.
Do we have any
Got a
issues?
question? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Do we have any issues with storage of that equipment in the interim?
I do not believe we have issues with storage. Let's just say this, it hasn't, the question was asked and it was not presented to me as a problem.
Bob?
Question on the flooring?
Yes, sir.
So you're putting this equipment's gonna go out in the middle of the floor now?
Now, the original plan was to take the equipment that's
There now?
in the current fitness room out, put temporary flooring down, and put this equipment in the current fitness room. All the discussions about moving out to the center area was if we wanted to expand this use or look to an outside operator. So until that discussion is had, the simplest thing would be just go with the plan, which was original, put the fitness equipment in the current fitness room, and operate that way until such time as the council makes a decision on expansion of the facility.
All right, thank you.
All right, having said that, and having not heard any objections,
One second. So I know we talked extensively about the equipment at the Y. But the other part?
Well, if you remember, we approved in 2015 and 2016, 8 satellite park equipment.
Right.
We held off on that because of beach volleyball, the trails, and all that.
So it remained in the 16
It
budget?
remained in the 2016 budget, it never came out. We just never moved forward with mine.
Okay. Then
So we need a motion.
I thought it would be.
We need a motion.
I don't think so. I don't think we need a motion. It's approved already. We don't have to make a motion.
The only difference would have, the
Just
reason
not
I'm raising
object.
it now is if you want to move it into 2017, tell me that.
But then it
and
delays
we
it.
can
I think we
roll
already
into
have the money to
2017
spend it.
budget. It just wasn't appropriate.
Right. And it was approved
Following
already.
discussion, 32,000, well, the equipment is 32,000. The pavilion is another, I'm sorry, the equipment is 34,000. The pavilion was 32,000.
All this was approved, wasn't it? All this was approved, right?
16.
For 16, 15 for 16.
16 budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we look at the bigger plan, and I think we have to have this discussion.
Yes.
So we said we're going to need to prioritize the items for 17 off of some of the 16 stuff we didn't complete and the 17 stuff that we thought we wanted to put out there. So has anyone thought about how we want to prioritize the criteria? Because one of the thoughts that some of us had thought about was the idea of, we all seem to think that that the safety of the parks is very important to all of us, and Parks and Rec is important to us. So how do you spread the dollars that we have across the whole borough? And would one of those ideas in the bigger plan be that we look at even the 4 corners of the borough, or the 4 segments of the borough, where on the west 100 area, or the Ward 1, we have King Salvati, we put some money into. On the upper side, we put money into Sutcliffe. On the east side, on the upper avenues, put some money into the A field. And then on the lower avenues, Marywood Park House, or the Fountain Community Center. So that's one way to look at it. And then if we appropriate, since it was already approved for 2016, it could go right into that plan, if that's a way we want to look at it. But we have to figure out how we want to prioritize. And I don't know if anybody's had any thoughts on how they want to prioritize.
I really think we need to replace the equipment at the Fell. In order to start drawing people in, we've got to upgrade it. We definitely have to upgrade that.
So, in order to prioritize, obviously, our budget is not what any of us thought it was. In order to prioritize what we want to do first, which would be Parks and Recreation, we're going to need to make some decisions on what we're taking out. Because we obviously cannot do everything that we put in. So there are things like the storm drains and the paving on Harry Street. Can that wait another year?
Harry's a mess.
What? No.
I understand that, but
The
if
answer,
we-
no,
Oh, look who's standing at the podium.
here's
We go through a couple of things. We have the Harry Street, we have the paving with that for the storm drain. We have Stoddard Avenue. What happens if we don't do that this year? Obviously, everything that we want to do is not getting done. It's not in the budget. So we have tough decisions to make. Things are going to have to get put off a year, and we need to decide how we want to do that before we go on with the budget.
Ms. Leonard, that question was, Mr. Hughes and I specifically talked about that. So if you would communicate to council what you communicated to me with respect to what impact on the public safety if we did not move forward with the Harry Street project. And what we've done, just for council to help your decision-making, is show every project that you've discussed to date. In green are those things that are currently in the capital budget, again, based primarily on the goals and objectives and priorities set throughout that process. And there's only a couple things. One thing, there are two things that were not included that I think are critically important to add that I did not include. One is the CMAQ project. And again, the CMAQ, congestion mitigation, air quality, it's for the traffic signals on Fayette Street. We spent a lot of time and money over the course of the last 2 years. It's roughly $100,000 that should be added to the budget. $70,000 of that is the traffic signal equipment, and that would include audible, so that people can actually hear that they can cross for those who are impaired in some way. And the remainder would either be the traffic engineer. The other item that is not in here that you had a request for is Narberth Ambulance, which is the $32,000, which you could see up there, which is a 5-year commitment, the $31,920. Again, not highlighted because it was not included. But of those two items, certainly both are worthy, but I would strongly advise and recommend it. And I was going to put it in this budget, but I felt that given what you had said as priorities, I didn't want to add it without your authorization. But I think the CMAQ is extremely important. In fact, I think I shared with you that PennDOT is now fully on board, has granted the funding, approved it, and is looking forward to moving that project forward. So I would strongly recommend that as you have priorities and are limited in funding, that $100,000 get added to the capital budget. And then we also had $46,200 for a jogging surface. And talking with Mr. Sokolowski and Mr. Hughes had included a large portion of that in the track project at the A field, so we were able to eliminate that $46,200 because it was a partial, basically 2 different surfaces. We don't need 2 different surfaces.
Okay.
So that came out. So those are really the 3 different pieces.
Rich, I have a question about the $100,000 that you're asking us to add in the budget. Will PennDOT give us the grant based on that they need us to commit to it also?
The $70,000 is our match of what
Okay.
PennDOT is giving to us.
Okay,
And keep in
so
mind,
that's our match.
we've already spent in excess of $100,000 on engineering, some of which came out of this year's budget,
Okay.
toward that. So it really, if we don't do it, we've, in essence,
Negated
wasted
what
all of
we-
the money
right.
we've already put forward.
Okay.
So you're saying that we don't have the money in there for Narberth Ambulance?
I did not include it because it was not,
It came in like-
you can certainly add it.
People are
I'm just pointing out that it is not in there.
Chris, can I walk
So, Rich, for 2017,
Can I finish a minute?
oh, I'm sorry,
Can I
I'm sorry.
finish? I don't think we need to be, we need to cut our, I mean, this ambulance does a lot for us. It takes care of our seniors, I mean, it takes care of anybody that's, I mean, they're very professional. I don't think we should be, my opinion, when I speak, it's my opinion, that we shouldn't be cutting the ambulance out. I think that's something we need.
Well, keep in mind, we did not cut them out.
We didn't cut.
They just haven't been
I'm just saying,
added.
Extra for
Right,
more.
so we should add it.
We should add it.
Yeah.
And also, I want to hear what Paul has to say
Yeah, me
about
too.
these road programs,
Road.
because I'm not a big fan of cutting road programs.
Either am I.
That's important to the,
None of us are a fan of cutting anything. If you look at the budget, we don't have the money.
I understand that, but
Right.
So something has to get
but
cut
how-
somewhere.
How
So
long
go
ago
ahead,
was this
Paul.
road program put in? We have the road program year by year,
yeah, right.
right?
Yeah.
Every year. This was set, what, a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
To get this one? So Paul, what do you
Then
got to
we
say about
You
it?
guys mind if
Parks and
I
Recreation?
So
set
you're
the
gonna
table
get-
of what you're looking at very briefly, and then try to lay out what Rich and I talked about, the best way to hopefully get through this very, very long list. What you guys are looking at, the handout that just went around, is exactly what's on the left 2 columns in the screen here.
No, you good.
There's the capital project list. Oh, I'm sorry, I got stuck. My apologies. I'll wait a second.
Bob kept them.
I held them all, see.
Yes.
It's one page for Belinda?
Yeah, just one page. Yep.
Okay, there's lots of extras.
All right, everybody have one?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
All right, so what you guys are looking at is the capital project list, which is basically maybe not all the projects, but the majority of the projects that have kind of stayed in the discussions this year, and their approximate budget values. The next column is what is in the current draft proposal that you were given, I guess last week or in the last couple weeks. What I have on the screen is an interactive tool where if you guys want to add or delete anything, I can just add or delete and we'll get an immediate feedback of what that does to the bottom line. And then I also have on the far right on the screen, basically if you want to come up with another option for a different collection of projects, whether they be the infrastructure projects or the park projects, I can add those to that and then we'll see what the total costs shake out to. And then all the way at the bottom of this is total cost. So we'll see from the different categories where we have the infrastructure projects is the first grouping, parks and recreation is the second grouping. We have general admin, public works, and police department. All things just to consider and get nailed down tonight. And then grand totals for all of those projects at the bottom. If you look at the bottom of your printout, you'll see that 1.267. That's where the capital expenditures stand right now for these particular categories. So again, this is a dynamic thing that as you guys want to see what the cost differences would be if we add or delete projects, I can do that right on the screen and we'll see the total cost pop up on the tally line on the bottom.
So that's $1,267,558 for the things you have highlighted?
That's for everything. It's highlighted in green on the left is in that center column, and that is the grand total, 1.267, yes.
What's our shortfall?
And in the capital fund, there's another thing in there that is not on the projects, because if you recall, we anticipate January 1, 2017, to start the year in this fund with $408,000. I'm giving you rough numbers. We expect, as we did in last year, there's some confusion. We had budgeted $2.6 million to come in last year. None of that came in. It was the grant money and it was the money from 51 Washington. We do expect both of those to come in 2017. That's 2.6. So for a total available of $3 million, I'm ballparking it. Of the $3 million, because we now have $719,000 in debt service, which there's no special tax for, there's no other revenue stream for, it's scheduled to come out of the capital fund as a transfer to debt service. So you have $3 million. You automatically have the $719,000 set aside for debt service to be transferred to debt service. And then, so that's total expenditures of $2 million, which would leave a net fund surplus. The capital fund would be at $984,000 if you spend 1.313 that was originally included, and that number came down to the 1.2 when we took the 46.2 out. Okay, so 984, which is just over $1 million, is what would be there December 31, 2017, all things being equal.
If we went with these things
If
that
you
are
went with what's
highlighted,
in green.
not counting
Not
the
counting adding the
CMAC?
CMAC, that is correct.
Okay,
Or the ambulance.
okay.
So if you think of it that way. So, Paul, if you would, add, just to show Council how this would work, add the CMAC to the list. And you see how that cost just adds $100,000. You go to the bottom. That 1.2 is now 1.367. So as you add and delete, you'll have real-time numbers to work from.
So I have a question. So for, other than the money that we're expecting in the grant money coming in, there is no other grant money coming in the future that we will have, like, next year to count on?
Well, there's no grant money in 2017. Where there's future dollars possibly, and I don't show them because they're not. 2020 is the money coming back from the UDEG, the 3 million. Depending upon what happens with the SORA project, that property that agreement is $3 million. But again,
It's
I
still not
can't budget it.
immediate.
There's no guarantees.
So we have to remember, everything that we put in for this budget and what we're going to allow ourselves to end with next year, there's nothing else.
That is correct.
For the following
For
year.
the following year.
For 2017,
There's going to be no more grant money coming in to help us
Fund it.
supplement again.
and keep in mind that the 2.5 million coming in, that's covering overages on the project as
Correct.
well. That's why it's coming into the capital fund, because the overages on this project came out of that fund.
Right.
So with what we have right now, we have a balance of 884 because we added CMAC in there. If we add the Narberth ambulance in there, it goes down to
Another 32,000.
852. So we would be going into 2018 with only $852,000 for any capital projects. And we already know that in our operating fund and expenses, we're not necessarily seeing any
Yes.
additional dollars in that based on some of the things that we have to address with the building and contracting and stuff. So we don't have any extra dollars that would be rolling from those funds either.
There are no extra dollars in the general fund. In fact, our expenditures are greater than our operating revenues in the general fund. It's balanced, and we do have money because we have fund equity. So we're using our fund equity, so if you look at expenses to revenues, dollars in, dollars out are more than dollars in. But we have been watching our balances and our fund equity, so we're solvent. There's no problem.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
We have a capital reserve fund separate from our capital fund.
Correct.
What would that balance be?
I believe it's 2.8 million. I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay, just so we have, that's our rainy day fund. Okay.
Yes.
So we can
Well,
always draw.
there's two funds. If you want to call it the rainy day fund, it's the capital reserve. The emergency fund is the operating reserve.
That's like the contingency for.
That's if you
For
had some
operating
crisis,
expenses.
or if you want to avert a tax increase or other things, yeah.
How much is that?
About 100,000.
Well, the capital reserve is projected to be January 1.7. We have scheduled to transfer out of the general fund into the capital reserve 500. So total available capital reserve would be 2.2 million, and there's no plan to take any of that money. But that, again, is a fund that, for example, we have certain expenditures that we still have yet to pay for this building that we're starting to drain the capital reserve this year. So for 2017, we're looking to take the 1.7, add 500,000 from the general fund, and hold that at 2.2 all of next year.
2017 capital reserve 2.2.
Ending 2.2, starting 1.7.
Oh, okay, so,
But again, that's only if we transfer money from the general to it.
right.
You may choose not to do that. That's a planned transfer. That doesn't mean it has to happen.
So let's go to the parks. I mean, if we cut something from the parks, it's not fair. We cut something out of Haynes and do all the stuff at Sutcliffe, it's not fair
Well,
to.
I can
cut
see
from one-
something right to cut at Sutcliffe, quite honestly, the park path widening,
Yeah, we
165,000.
could wait.
That
for
gives
that.
us enough money to do the other parks, because we're paying a
We
lot
could-
of
we
attention to
could-
Sutcliffe this year.
We could do that. We
I
could do
I
that.
think
Yeah,
that would
so
be a good
that's-
place to start.
Yes.
That's a good place to start. Take out the widening, Paul.
That doesn't have to be done this year.
Paul,
Yep,
got that?
yep, it's going.
It's not that bad. I mean,
Because-
down on the lower end, if we keep, I'm not gonna say it, but
And what are
I'm
the,
going to say,
I have a
Huh?
question, what is the 35,000
What's
in
it cost?
bleachers?
Most of the bleachers that we have throughout our parks are not compliant. They're not
Oh,
safe.
so that's throughout the town, it's not
throughout
just
the
Sutcliffe.
borough. But
it's
these are, in particular, are Sutcliffe. There's 10 of them.
10, okay,
So that would be taking the bleachers that are there out
right,
and getting compliant bleachers in.
okay. And I think that's a really good move, just to focus on safety, and going back to what Bob said about the ambulance, I'm 100% in support of funding the ambulance. That's,
I mean,
to
they're
me, is
always
like
there
our
for us.
safety net. We cannot underfund them, or we have to encourage them.
it's
So
like
I
a fire
think,
department. I I mean,
Right,
can we afford
right.
not to fund
No,
them? I mean,
no, so I
So-
think that's a good idea.
Which is the,
So if we take the 165 out,
31.
Paul?
I've added that Narberth on there, is that?
Okay,
Are we
and then
doing that?
take out the path
Yep,
widening,
the path widening is out.
Sutcliffe Park, I think that'd be
Yep.
next year.
Okay,
That rowing is at least, that's locked in.
It is
How many years is that?
3 years. I believe this is the last year.
Plus the other slush fund side of that.
Well, it's a slush fund, but yes, there are the operating expenses, yes.
How many kids we got down there?
I'd have to check the last numbers. I really don't have them at my
I
fingertips.
think we have to look at all our facilities and look at how many residents actually use each facility.
That's one
And-
we should start with.
Right, and put our dollars where we get the most attendance.
and where we want it, where the most
Right.
attendance.
Right.
So I have a question on street trees.
Yes.
I was looking at that too.
What is
Um,
street trees?
Each of the last, since I'm here, this is the third budget cycle, the council has budgeted money, various council members to put trees in their wards. Last year it was 30,000, it wasn't used. That street trees was carried forward. Again, if you don't plan on,
Anybody have a problem with taking the street trees out?
No.
Okay.
I don't know that we should do that.
Why?
Is it to replace
I-
dead trees?
Can I just say something
in the
about,
town?
and everybody labels me as a tree hater, but I'm not.
No, I'm not a tree hater.
But-
What?
The tree hater. But I think we really have to get this under control about our tree. We don't have that committee anymore, right?
well, the EAC was, can look at anything you ask them to, including trees.
But we have a lot of trees in the borough that I look at, and I don't know, hey, I don't know much about trees, but
We have some
they
sick
look like they're
trees.
not the right trees for on sidewalks, because you can't walk under them.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they poke you in the eye. I mean,
I mean, yeah.
They need to be
And they
cleaned.
push the
just like the
sidewalks
ones
up.
in the park next to the Fellowship House in Marywood Park. Them trees, I don't know, whoever, they've been in there for years, but, right, Ike?
Yeah.
They're the wrong trees.
What
So I
else?
think till we get that under control, what trees we're gonna, because how many trees did we put in a couple years ago? A lot. Remember, we got all those trees, about
Well,
300 of
yeah.
them, or 1,000
Yeah,
of them?
something like that.
How
They were
about the
dropping them all over the place.
How about the Hector Street regreening?
Well, so I am living through that promise from 2016 for Hector Street regreening. Originally, it came in at 600,000. The council approved that. We then identified that the funds aren't there for that kind of money.
So let's just, wait, I don't want to interrupt you.
That's okay.
Let's just go back to the trees. Are we going to do them or not? Let's do one at a time.
Okay.
I'd like to suggest this,
Just
that
have it so we keep some money in case.
All right, we can half it.
That's a Karen go to.
15.
Well, I know that we want to finish one and move on to the next item, but I think that the greenery is really important, and I appreciate a suggestion to cut that, but can we maybe just move down a little bit and keep it there as a consideration if we have the ability to hang on to that one, if that makes sense?
That's fine.
So
That's
we'll,
I'd like to go with
we'll
the-
start as it come back to.
Yeah.
How's that?
That's a good
But
category.
the trees in
one?
Hector Street.
Street trees.
Right.
Can I address the Hector Street? Because I think there's one piece of that whole issue that gets lost. Those trees, it wasn't simply removing trees. Most of those trees and those tree roots were wrapping around water lines and gas lines.
Yeah.
And the gas lines, there was a potential for explosion. So they weren't just taken out because we wanted to take them out. There was a serious concern about, again, water lines and wrapping around gas lines. The reason it became a regreening is because there was a sensitivity, not by this council, but by the council at the time who moved forward with doing it, and it was a design by a previous council, not this current council. So all of that expense was, number one, driven by the fact that we had trees that were pushing up the sidewalk, pushing up bricks, wrapping around gas lines, and it was really a public safety issue in taking them out. It wasn't simply a matter of, we don't want trees and we don't want greenery.
And I think that Tina has an idea of how to cut that and not put in trees, but at least do something for her residents.
So what I'm looking for is some funding to do some type of beautification down there. So we took out trees that actually we're masking some of the wires and took away some charm that residents actually wanted to live there for. So what I'm thinking is there something that we can do on a smaller scale that can help bring back some of that charm for the neighborhood? You know, we have these really nice street lights down there. Could we look at something on those poles, maybe flags that say something about Conshohocken? They have planters that potentially could come off those poles, although that's upkeep and we would need to figure that out. But there are things that I think we can do in a smaller scale while we're trying to figure out where we'll fund all of these great ideas that everybody has, because that's the next step, is we're going to have to figure out where we come up with revenues to keep moving our town forward, but to put some money aside so that we could do something for those residents who are right. We did take some character away, and to leave it there after promising them. You know, I've had many conversations about the idea that, you know, unfortunately, things didn't necessarily roll out the way that we anticipated, and there were some unforeseen things that came up, but potentially there's something we can do to help them get back some of the charm of their street. So I would ask that we do keep some money in there.
Yeah, and right now, we have 40,000 for regreening.
So, Tina, what do you think? What do you want to take it down to? Or do you want to leave it there?
I was thinking somewhere between 40 and 60 potentially, but I haven't priced anything at this point.
Tina, is it 2 or 3 blocks? How
So-
many blocks about would
So
it be?
2 of the blocks are the ones that I have in my ward, and then Ike has some blocks, and I don't know if he wants to get into
You don't want
to
flags?
any of that. We're talking 2 blocks for Ward 3 that we're expecting some
Something in return for what they
Hector
lost.
Street.
You go down my block right now,
The
and you
300
can't find a
400
parking
block.
space. Now, if I
Yeah,
start
she
putting
said
trees and
40 to
stuff back
60
here and bump outs,
No, we weren't talking about bump outs. We're just talking about something a little bit charming. Like, you know how they have the nice
I know-
flags
I
that
know
say
what
welcome
you're
to
talking about, a couple of trees,
Conshohocken, or
a couple of trees or
something
I
like
know.
history, art,
long
culture.
as I'm taking,
No parking spaces, as long as
I'm not
Ike
taking no
doesn't want
parking spaces. You do
parking
what you want
spaces,
down
I'm in agreement with no parking,
okay.
no loss.
So we'll leave the 40 there.
All right,
Is that all right,
I'm
Tina?
good with that.
I'm fine with 40. We'll figure out
Okay,
what
that's
we
fine.
can do with 40 and make it work.
All right, what's next?
Well, the next category, well, first of all, the first category is infrastructure projects. So based on this, so far what you've kept is the Hector Street regreening for 40, the 30 for the street trees, and added the 100,000 for the CMAC, for the matching grant, for a total of 170,000. So just understand that those projects for Harry Street, you have not added in funding for. So before we move to the next category, is Parks and Recreation. We had a request, we actually had a petition from the seniors for those first 2 items, the bingo console and the bingo flashboard for $7,900 and $1,800. You know how important bingo is to the seniors?
Absolutely.
And
You better keep it in then.
Right.
so it, no one objected to putting that in our discussions to date, so that is in there. The Haynes Salvati Park and Play equipment, again, it wasn't added because it was currently budgeted, so it's not currently funded, because if you want to do it in 17 versus 16, you would need to add that. If you don't want to do it all, you need to tell me that as well. You do see the Haynes Salvati safety surface. That is, if you recall from the other previous budget meetings, there's the poured in place surface. So that is the amount of money for a poured in place surface at that park. The A-field fencing and screening project, that is funded currently. You've taken out the Sutcliffe, Paul, if you would please unhighlight the Sutcliffe Park path widening, since that is out at the moment.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
Rich, just real quickly, we're talking about having the street trees. We didn't use any money last year. It's 30, we're saying maybe go to 15.
Well, I will tell you that Ms. Tutino in particular had a number of trees that damaged and came down, and the numbers that were coming back to replace all that she wanted to were too high, and frankly, just never moved forward. So
Is 30 enough, not enough?
that's, I'll defer
Well, that's why
to.
we were going to come back to that after we,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
we're
we
gonna
trimmed
wait.
down the budget
Yeah.
some.
So then the A-Field track project,
Wait a minute,
I'm sorry,
on that bingo console,
yes.
is that, I've been at some bingos up the street where they are now utilizing the computer. And the balls all flip around on there and boom, the number comes up on
That's
the
what it
one
is.
ball.
That's what it is.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
It apparently it's some sort of motherboard, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got the one where they hang the
Yeah,
numbers.
Yeah, no,
up.
it's not the old.
Okay.
They hang the
hamster
numbers up now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We've eliminated the air conditioning project that was funded, that was budgeted this year, but the numbers came in too high. The track project, which is the track at the A-Field, the bleachers, which you've discussed, the Sutcliffe Park play equipment and Sutcliffe Park play surface, which you discussed at the previous meeting. That's still in there. The rowing center equipment lease, which is the third-year commitment, that's in there. That is the end of Parks and Recreation. You could see that total at 912 and change.
So I have a question on that. For the A-Field fencing and screening project, have we had any, is there a way to, oh my God, I hate to say this, fix it for now, temporarily,
Fix the wall?
Yeah, make it safe.
and then
Yeah,
come back
sure.
to it in whenever to,
Uh,
I'd
You know,
rather have
we
the
had done
path-
some studies in the past about stabilizing that wall, and, you know, it's still, it becomes pretty costly. If any money's gonna be spent, I mean, I'd almost prefer to take it down and maybe, you know, put a fence up but not do the landscaping or something to that effect, rather than try to spend money to stabilize it knowing we're gonna demolish the wall, you know?
Do we have to do the whole wall or just that one area?
Well, the walls, my opinion is the walls that are over top of the areas where there's a retaining wall, where if, you know, that guard is required for,
On
you know,
11,000.
falling.
11, yes.
Yeah, it would be, if we were to split it up, would be the primary area that we'd want to look at. The wall along the back, you know, could that kind of hang out there for a while? Probably. You know, we could consider that if you wanted to look at breaking that up and maybe chopping that number up a little bit in the pieces, rather than spending almost 400,000. We could look into that,
Maybe
sure.
we could get the new tenant in the Moors to pay for that, maybe, you know?
Who?
Possibly.
Whoever moves into Moors, the new tenant, whoever takes
Oh.
over Moors.
Of the Moores property.
Tenant.
Yeah, whoever, I mean, you know, whoever takes that over.
Owner,
Yeah.
whatever.
I'm not gonna mention any names, but
That would be something I would be okay with doing.
So taking down the wall on 11th Avenue, replacing it with another wall
Fence.
or a fence?
Or a fence.
Now, will the neighbors mind the noise if there's a fence? It's always been a wall.
Well, I asked that Election Day,
Mhm.
because you know me, I think that's a great day to find out things.
Sure.
They said they've been living with that noise for years and years, and they don't think it's going to be much difference between a wall and a fence. And I can hear it distinctly at my house, so,
I can hear it sometimes in my house.
yeah,
Right.
I don't think it's going to matter much on.
Actually,
They're above the wall.
if
Yeah.
you put those arborvitaes in, and they grow
grow
18
fast.
Yeah, they grow
feet,
thick.
and they grow high, and they
Yeah.
do take some of the sound away.
Yeah.
So we can go back to that first rendering of 2005 that we did spent all the money for the drawings and all that
Yeah.
you guys did. We could put that fence up, the pretty fence, the black wrought iron fence,
Yep.
and then put the trees behind it and make it look really attractive,
Right.
and that would kill some of that sound. And it would buffer it a little bit for the neighbors,
And it would look nice.
It would
for
look
neighbors.
nice.
Yep.
Right.
you know?
And that's what this is
Was that-
proposing, but it's for all four sides, not for just
Right.
the two for now, and we
So,
could phase it.
That's what this is.
so we'd be cutting it in half, correct?
Well,
About, Paul?
More or less. Actually, probably slightly more than half, because the longest run is the back.
Right.
That being said, I'd probably recommend that we turn the corner and maybe deal with the access at the back
Yeah, that's bad.
by the
back
parking
there.
lot. You know, maybe turn the corner, but then stop kind of after the parking lot, rather than leave that where there's the temporary fence where the wall was knocked down.
But why do we have to do
But-
a wall there too? Why can't we do the fence and the trees there?
That's what I'm saying, we could do the fence and the
Yeah.
trees, but rather than do that, those two corners and then kind of leave that
No, that
spot
looks
there.
bad
I'm just
back
saying, maybe do a little bit of the parking
Right.
lot, and then leave the rest of the, the 8-foot wall in the back
Back.
until a phase 2 potentially.
Right.
Just an idea.
That's, Colleen, that's your word.
I mean, I'm good with that. I'd rather see the money put towards other things right now. You know, keep it safe.
Right, that takes away the danger by doing that part, Paul.
What's
If
that?
we fix the two sides and park by
Yeah,
the
the immediate concern is a failure in that wall and having, the fall height on the other side.
Right.
So, Paul,
To
how
make-
is the rest of that wall on 11th Avenue that's going to stay?
On 11th Avenue is not bad. The other side, even though there's nothing that indicates that it's problematic, that is slightly more concerning because it is just all old
No, I
stone.
I
On
mean the
Hollowell.
wall below.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We
Okay.
actually
Yeah.
fixed that.
But on the 11th Avenue side, we're pretty good there. It's
That's
the
okay.
other, because that's all been, I guess, renovated over time. The other side is the old stone.
Right.
The good news, though, because it's old stone, there's nothing but holes in it, so the water doesn't sit behind it
Right.
and impose a load. The water goes right through it.
Right through.
Right.
Yeah, so by and large, besides the corner, right there in the corner where there's the tiebacks and there's that visual separation, there's not a whole lot of, vertical displacement in the wall on either side.
Okay.
So how much can we take out of that?
This number.
100?
Why don't we knock it from 376 down to 2, just 200 and, or
Take
done
out
it right in half, but-
176.5, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
How confident are you in that number?
Well, in terms of whether we're looking at actually physically putting in half the amount of fence and half the amount of trees, it's pretty much right there.
And
so.
we could
But
even
I was
put-
going to suggest 200, this is a little bit of cushion.
We could even put the trees on a step 2 for the following year.
Except for
That's,
the
yeah, you
noise.
could do the fence and then the trees.
Trees are not that expensive.
Yeah, the trees are
Well, the
fine.
trees, they add up, though. They do add
A
up.
lot
do.
of trees.
I'd prefer to set a number and be able to do just a little bit of homework, but in general, coming down around that amount is probably going to work out. I just would like to put pen to paper and take all of about
Well-
10 minutes.
So Paul, how confident are you, based on our lack of luck in getting contractors to bid projects that are a reasonable cost, if we back this down, that we
Well-
would get the right bid packages moving forward?
Well, if we back it down, two things happen. One is, of course, we're not just backing the budget down, we're backing the scope down, but it also puts it in a threshold that our responsible contract ordinance doesn't come into play either, if it's
So,
under 350.
On that note, I would again suggest 2 phases for that
Right,
reason.
For that reason.
What
Fence
is the
and
responsible
trees.
contractor's
Fence and
amount?
trees following the
350.
following year.
350,000?
Fence and the trees following. So just do fence.
Just do fence. It keeps us
So
well
if it's
below.
just fence, Paul, and not trees, on half of that, you're talking about just that half, Colleen?
Mhm.
So what happens to that? That 200 drops down even more?
Well, we still need to demo the wall. There's a cost there. I'd really like to do it
Well,
formally. I mean,
the problem
depends how
is-
much.
So go up a little
If
higher.
you want to,
Yeah, I would
Paul,
say stay high.
It's easier, yes, stay high, because if you have to drop it, we could drop it, we don't have to re-advertise.
yeah.
So stay high, and then if you put a pencil, a pen, and it's 150, they can always take the 50 out without re-advertising.
Yeah.
Because we have to advertise the proposed budget once they adopt it this evening.
Okay, well, the question is, do we need the number tonight? Because I will get you the
Yes.
number tonight.
Oh.
Otherwise.
Yes.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
do.
Well, do you want to continue doing what we're doing, and then, like, literally let me go do some math, and then
Yeah.
come back and present the numbers?
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Five
We
minutes.
had-
Is that okay with council?
Is there anything else in this section that we need to ask Paul about before we? Nothing really.
Let's see.
Take a quick
Scroll
look.
down further, Paul. Keep going. No, there's nothing on this list that is really Paul's
Okay.
beyond that.
5 minutes, Paul?
So we have
I just
programming
need
for
to look through my
seniors.
computer, I just don't want to do it on the screen.
We have parks for children. We have a track going in for community and as a whole?
Right.
Have we left anyone out if we're looking at trying to cover our community?
I think we got it all covered.
I think we do. So Karen, what is your feeling on the playground equipment for
Haynes
Salvati?
for this year.
Pardon me?
You're
Right.
Now, remember, we're giving you the trees.
I didn't see anything on here for the alleys.
Well,
That was a joke.
Didn't you see the tennis ball going back and forth?
Back at you, Bob.
Yeah, back at you.
I did see something on here.
It's on here.
It's
It's
on
just
there.
not highlighted.
Yeah.
It's at the top. No, thank
Okay, so we have on there for the safety surface, 417.
well, the safety surface is 29,885. That's in there because in order to get the discount in safety service pricing, we combined both parks. If you take Haynes Salvati out of safety surface, that number goes up exponentially.
Okay.
So that 76,000, that's play equipment and a pavilion. So 34 of that is equipment. 36, I'm sorry, is equipment. The rest is a pavilion, which frankly, most of it is construction. So if you eliminate the pavilion, you're at roughly 36,000 for the equipment.
There's not a
And
pavilion
if you didn't
down
want to
there.
do it this year, you can roll it into 2017s and add 36,000.
There's no one there.
Yeah, there's not a pavilion down there now, right?
There is not a pavilion
No.
down there.
Is a lot of
That was-
residents from the Grand using that?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
In fact, Harvey, we talked about this park before and how much activity we see or don't see at Haynes Salvati,
The park is fairly well used.
but you're seeing it primarily by children.
Yes, yes.
So the play equipment.
And basketball.
Okay.
There's, I would say, most afternoons, there's some sort of a pickup game down there.
And I think, Bob, probably because the Grand and those buildings have gyms
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
there. I don't, and there really isn't much of a draw for that population, for that demographic.
So the pavilion we can do away with, right, for now?
Put the equipment in.
Put the
Keep the
equipment in,
equipment
put
in.
the safety surface in,
Right, I think definitely.
and then we can put the pavilion in later.
Yeah, I'm good with
Good with that?
the pavilion, delaying the pavilion.
That works.
Do you want to put the money for the equipment in 17 or buy it in 16?
Buy it in 16 if we have the money already.
Is the money's
It's
already there?
allocated, right?
This year it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
let's
use it
buy it
this
this
year.
year. Right, if it's allocated.
Yeah, we don't want to, listen, we're putting new stuff in Sutcliffe,
Right,
Right,
no,
right.
it's
and if we
just
don't do
because-
it in the other parks, you know, we're going to get criticized.
Right, well, we might have to do the other
I
parks
just didn't know
next year.
because
we
too.
were going
That's
out
what
to-
people.
Yeah, I know,
have to
yeah, I know,
understand,
yeah,
so-
yeah.
I'm sorry, Karen, I couldn't
Because
hear
we
you.
were, I thought we were going out to bid for the park equipment.
What we were going to do is get quotes from those who are participating
Right,
in the state cooperative purchasing.
right.
We can still do that. I mean, we've been dealing with one vendor, we can certainly expand it to ask any other vendor to give us prices as well. The only issue is doing it this year, you almost have to go with this current vendor that we've worked with for years, so that he can guarantee to get it here this year. That's the issue. If we go to another vendor, they have to be approved under a state contract, and they have to be able to deliver it before December 31st. And the reason I say that is just for everyone's edification. You know, we have a financial compliance person. In her estimation, in order to attribute the cost to this year's budget, not only does it have to be encumbered this year, but it has to be received this year,
Okay.
which is something we go back and forth with.
Okay, so let's just say that we go that path.
Right.
Is there sufficient time for the park equipment to be ordered? And somebody asked about storing it too.
Right.
So ordered, received, and where would it be stored?
As of 4 o'clock today, I was told that it can be received by the end of this year.
Okay.
And the storing of it, I'd have to rely on Ray and Harvey to tell me. But Ray Ray was in that meeting, and he didn't seem to indicate that storing would be a problem, so I'm assuming it wouldn't be.
It sounds like it's, of the two choices, that's the avenue we have to go. We'll have to go down that
I mean,
alley.
we can always check the state.
Those darn alleys. It's just to be fun. Instead of going down that street, I'm just saying, go down that alley.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay,
so
I'll stop.
So
We've
we're
got-
taking $36,000 off that line?
Well,
36 to be spent
For the
this year, and the
pavilion.
pavilion
it won't be
postponed.
added.
No, subtracted, I was saying.
No, it was never added.
No, because
Oh, it
it's
was
a
never added, so we're
yellow,
going to do it for this year, okay,
right.
But I,
in
So,
2016.
so this whole 76 comes off?
The 76,000
The yellow was never
is,
added.
was
I
not
changed it to-
highlighted in green.
Yeah, I changed it to 36.
so why, if we're
It did.
buying it,
No, hang on.
all right, go ahead.
I misunderstood.
Those that are highlighted in green are in the budget.
Yeah.
Those that are not in the budget. It is there in white, so that if you wanted to add it, you can do with it like we did with some of the others, and add the cost.
So do we have to add the park equipment in this, or is it being done in 2016, where this is
Hearing from council is-
2017?
What I'm hearing from council is do it in 16.
16.
Right.
Out of 16.
Okay.
So strike
So
that
this
one.
whole 76 is mute,
That's
Correct.
and it's not in there anyway, so we're still at the same amount?
Correct, and only the pavilion will, in the future, be factored in. But
It's
at
going to
some-
go
To be determined.
with my wall?
Yes,
With the
yes.
trees.
Okay,
Trees for your fence.
yes, for my trees.
Question, maybe I'm not paying attention, or why are we storing the equipment? Why aren't we installing it?
Well, we'll get it scheduled to install.
What's that?
Weather?
It's weather driven.
Yeah.
All right, so what if we
So
hit
it's
what if we
possible
hit
to
a
do
war-
it,
yeah,
it's possible to do it in January.
what if we get a warm spell, you know?
We can do it.
Look at right now, I mean.
The question I
it's-
asked him today,
Going up to
aside
six-
from frost, are there any issues installing in January, February? He said, no, absolutely not. We love the winter work.
What's the temperature have to be?
He didn't say. I would imagine it's a frost line, like anything
Okay.
else when you dig.
Because we have to do the surface.
I'm just saying, you know, we can, let's install it if we can,
Sure.
you know?
Okay.
Again, I was only talking storing because of the issue of making sure it's delivered for
Okay.
accounting purposes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so then the next category,
You happy?
Are you?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm happy.
good.
I'm not.
You got your $40,000.
I got 40.
You got the
I
trees.
Look, I gave up the pavilion.
We could take some out of Sutcliffe Park and put some down there,
Sutcliffe is our most popular park.
but there's a lot of extra trees down there.
And there's a lot of sick
Yeah, I got
trees.
4 you can have.
There's a lot of sick trees.
All right.
Next.
okay,
started all
the
this
general
nonsense.
administration, one was included as a result of the conversation on that, the Borough app, the $7,000, and the Narberth ambulance. I think we added that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Paul went to work his number, so we lost our computer, and I believe that was added. So that number will go up by
So-
31,920.
What
Am
is
I
the-
correct? Well, you tell me, do you want to add that?
Yes.
Glad what?
Sorry,
The
Borough application?
That's the app. I mean, we don't have to do
For the phone.
it. That was
That
the
would be
one
on your
for,
smartphone, the app on your smartphone.
Oh, I don't need that.
How much is that?
$7,000.
you liked it when they present, if you don't want to do it, that's fine, we can take it out. It's up to you.
I don't care, but
That's a little, 7,000, really, it's,
It's completely up to you.
are we going into the future or not? Are we moving into the future?
What do you mean?
The app phone's gonna move us into the future, right?
Yes. I mean, it's an app. I mean,
It'll
Yeah.
appeal to younger residents
Yes.
also.
it's
And we
it's
have a
something that
younger
people can
generation.
access on
And
mobile
younger
devices.
workers.
Oh, okay.
I say we keep that.
Yeah.
Keep that.
Yeah.
So that's for our young people,
Okay.
There you go.
all of us
Yeah.
tech savvy people.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, the bingo people have this whole big flashboard, they should be getting familiar with this now.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They ain't familiar with the numbers, that's all they worry about. They worry about
Why
No,
never
numbers.
is
no,
it
the money,
CIN or
the money.
Yeah.
At $5 they went.
Yeah.
Hey, I won $15.
They did.
Then the next category is the Public Works category. And
Even a tiller.
a tiller,
As much as a
and
trailer.
this is really Public Services, Public Works Department, specific to raise requests. I mean, pretty much, I will tell you that there were a number of things that were requested, significant dollars, that were not approved and recommended to you, and that we discussed with him last week. So, this is the last of the list. It's really what's your pleasure.
Okay, what's a Tommy gate?
It's a
Lift
lift
gate.
gate.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't remember.
And I believe that's actually 2, not 3, times 2, not times 3.
Times 2. Okay.
I'll verify that, but I think it's times 2.
Rich, I have a question about the LED lights. Are we going through completing the project this year? Are we doing part of it
Oh,
next year?
that's separate. This is related to
Oh.
the building itself,
Oh,
lighting
okay.
on vehicles.
In which building?
And in the Public Works garage.
Public Works Garage, okay.
Just so on the record, we're getting a lot of compliments for the LED lights we're putting in,
Yeah.
the street lights.
Lighting up.
That's great.
Yeah, getting a lot of feedback on it.
Yeah, it's like daytime in front
Yeah,
of my house
yeah.
all night long.
No, I don't need a porch light anymore.
It's like living in Alaska.
We can dim those.
We
Yes.
can.
So,
What did he suggest? You start out at like 80% and then work your way up when
Yeah.
you start to dim?
Okay, so
I'm
let's-
not complaining, by the way. I'm just stating fact.
No, but if they are too bright,
They can dim them.
yeah, they
Yeah.
can dim them. If they are too bright.
And I
then-
kind of like it. I haven't had anything stolen in front of my house.
what's a Toro tiller?
Barbie?
Bring something.
Toro tiller.
Pardon?
The Toro tiller.
I have no idea.
That is for the fields.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
assume
this-
it was,
this
it's
is-
for this
this
to
was-
irrigate?
Like to cut up the
Right.
grass.
Well, it's for the lily fields, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So that's for the kids too, good.
I think some of these are hard to
The
address.
offices, what's that? They're gonna build another office?
yeah, what's the offices?
Well, renovations to the Public Works garage.
I-
Lunchroom and trying to,
So they don't have. a-
there's some concern that, we have this new building,
They didn't get
and
anything.
really, yeah, they still have the same space they've always, so Ray's idea was, let's improve that facility.
5,000 for paint?
They got a little lunchroom. So, I mean, it's not the Marriott, but
Yes,
they got a table.
Are they painting it or
kitchen table,
we
refrigerator.
contracting it?
I believe they're painting it. I mean, the safety equipment is gear, is gear.
Oh, yeah, I know what the safety equipment is.
What's that?
Oh, no.
Yeah, right across from the sewer.
For me, it's hard
Father
because I
smell.
don't know what some of these things are and how necessary. You get to safety equipment and I'm always inclined to say yes to it.
The
Almost.
electrical upgrade is for the building,
Yes.
I'm always in.
and I'm guessing that's a necessary.
Most of these are for the Public Works garage. Except the equipment is for the individuals.
Correct, right,
The emergency vehicle lights is for the vehicles.
okay.
Tommy Gates, obviously.
How,
What are they doing to the
how big
lunchroom?
is that building that it's $5,000 to paint it?
That's what I didn't understand.
What's that?
How big is that building that it's
Harvey,
$5,000
how many square
for
foot,
paint?
do you know what the square footage of that RV is?
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
might be-
candidly, I
yeah.
relied on him to give me his quantities, and I didn't question it.
It's a pretty big building.
Yeah, but isn't most of it stone or
It's all
concrete?
cinder block, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's, still you have to paint
You have
it.
to paint it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why. Trying to remember.
Hi, Paul, welcome back.
Don't say anything to cut out.
What are they
Okay.
doing
don't
with the
either.
lunchroom?
We did
Do you know?
Wants to reconfigure it,
Man up there,
enlarge it.
Yeah, I don't.
No,
see
Harvey
anything
wasn't
else.
involved. The 2017
No.
budget was raised because he's coming in,
Okay.
2017.
What are they going to do in the lunchroom?
He wants to expand it and dress it up, basically,
Where, are we gonna expand
Where
it
we going to
to?
spend it?
Yeah.
into the restroom.
Into the
To
restaurant?
the
Yeah,
restroom.
what happens to the
West
restroom?
room.
You gotta have a restroom.
Well, the small one, the female restroom. There's a small restroom off to the side. It's right now, it's a locker room and a lunchroom. You
Yeah, I
want to
know.
expand
I've been
that
there.
and make it bigger. He's also looking at another area, that's storage, to kind of expand that and rearrange things in the building. He has a very specific plan. And again, based on the fact that his idea is, everyone else has new space, why not those guys? It's that simple.
I'm not saying I'm against it, but is that reason enough?
Well, they don't have a lunchroom.
Yes, they do.
Well, they do.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They
They
do.
have a lunch. Not very big, but they
It's
do.
not-
have a-
Harvey, what's
Does
in the
it
lunchroom?
finance-
Does it fit all of the staff
that go to Table lunch?
How many people fit in the lunchroom for the borough police?
They can all get in there, it's tight for them all to be in there.
Yeah.
But we've had meetings in there with everybody in there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you eat lunch in there with them?
Pardon?
Do you eat with them in there?
No, he's not allowed.
Not-
He's not allowed.
They can't talk about him when, if he wants.
No.
I'm okay with that. These guys work hard. I mean, that's up to, my opinion.
I'm with Bob.
Yeah.
They're very hardworking guys,
I'm
and
fine with
Yeah.
it.
I think
nice
we
to
need to
have
have
it.
pleasant lunchroom and a
You
good
know,
place to have
I think it's
meetings.
simple. These are his estimates. We just ask him to try to, if he can cut that cost, cut it.
Yeah.
But I think the intent for the men
yeah, they work,
and
they're
potential
hard,
women who may
especially
work
with the
there.
weather and the
Weather
rain.
and
and-
stuff, yeah.
Right, right.
But you can cut the
Doing some really
recliners
cheap.
in a couple of minutes.
I'm thinking if they moved it out instead of this way,
Yeah.
it might work better.
They can't move out too much because they
I-
put trucks and
I
stuff
I wasn't
I
going to
know that.
micromanage his project, truthfully. He had his certain ideas. And
Okay.
Right.
I haven't
I'm
been
good.
in the building, so
I
I'm
haven't either,
simply
that's-
going to
Yeah.
defer to everyone else
Right.
what your thoughts are. I don't, if
It's not the Marriott.
requires.
It certainly is
It's
not.
It's not the
Oh my
Marriott.
gosh.
You don't want to go anywhere, when-
If-
especially when the
if
trucks
it-
are
if
in
it
there.
Could use a lot of sprucing.
Yeah,
If,
okay.
if that's what it
Yeah.
needs, and I,
Yeah, they take the
I-
trucks in, the mechanics got to work in there and all that
oh,
stuff.
no, I certainly, the conditions should be
Yeah.
at a point where they just should be, so I'm not,
Harvey, when was the last time you upgraded that place?
They've had upgrades for the last 25 years. We put an addition on, we put that.
Right.
Yeah.
That whole break room and bathroom, and then there's a
Plaster the outside, they split.
handicap / ladies locker room, bathroom down there. for
Okay.
Possible future growth. Fuel tanks were put in down there 18 years ago or so.
Isn't there an upstairs storage area too?
That was all built
Well-
within the
Right.
last 20
Right.
some years.
And you plastered all front.
Yeah, so it's
The
been a
whole front
while.
was plastered, stucco.
The whole building was plastered.
Stucco, yeah. It ain't been that long.
Okay.
Haven't
So it's
been that long.
mostly the inside.
Yeah, there's been annual upgrades down there. The break room was to be painted this year, it's just with other projects and stuff that did not get done.
Okay. So everybody in agreement to keep this, all
Yes.
those
I think
things on?
so.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'm good.
the last category is the police.
They don't get anything.
I know where there's some uniforms.
You want to,
You ain't gonna cut none of that.
Sergeant, would you want to talk a
only
little bit?
kidding.
Is this the software? Is that the active shooter software?
Right, that's the training simulator that Cal's on a presentation on.
Right.
Right.
Spring.
Right.
right.
Decided there was a lot of value left in that, so we said it's time to.
And
The
then you,
uniform part of it, just for an explanation of the timing. The last time the department had a large expenditure for uniforms, we found that most of the officers are needing to replace those uniforms now, so they decided we're going back to the original style if they deemed that the expense was gonna be, justified, and not keep the style that we've had the past 10, 12 years, whatever it's been, so. Most of the officers are gonna need to have a uniform replaced. We decided it would be beneficial to get something that's a little more, in our opinion, professional deal. So that's why we decided to try to incorporate it this year.
I think we keep them on.
Yeah, keep them.
If you don't, you have a grievance.
What'd you say?
If you don't, you have a grievance. You
Does
was
that, does that come
You
with
was
patches
at their
too, or do
union.
they have to put their own on?
Yeah.
patches are typically bought separately.
Yeah.
Oh, and somebody has to put them on?
The active shooter software, remember, they did that demonstration where they
They
actually
gotta take them, they gotta take them,
Yeah.
and get them sewed on. You
Yeah,
gotta take
yeah,
this,
right.
all that stuff is sewed on when they need it.
That 3D thing.
Just get it.
I've done that.
It's just like in the army.
Takes-
It's
takes
just
a
like in the
while.
army. It's just like in the army. You get, like, you get a
Are we ready for
promotion,
poll?
And then
Yes.
you gotta get all your stripes.
Yes.
and all your uniform, but you gotta pay for it all.
All right, I made 3 new possibilities for the A-field fence. I'll just kind of highlight them here. Got one for fence only, and that would be the whole property, new gates and everything, including demolition of the existing wall. That comes out to $278. Ayfield, half fence plus screening, and that would be for the two sides we talked about along 11th and along Hollowell, including putting the arborvitae in. It comes out to about $227. And then half fence only, so the fence in the same area just described, minus the screening, comes in around $192.
So I say we take the middle one.
I agree, I think we need the trees right around.
trees.
right
Yeah.
around.
I just have some ideas on how to get the trees other ways rather than us pay for them.
Donate a tree. Put your name on it.
There you go.
I don't know.
Is that what you're thinking? Is that what you're
I'm thinking
thinking?
more we have a lot of companies in the area who like to be involved in the borough, and
Donate a tree.
I think
Donate
some
to
of them
the-
would like to be involved, would probably be in, like to help with that. That's a nice idea.
suggesting the 191?
Mm-hmm.
And we take that on as a project for
Uh-huh.
council to try and solicit
Mhm.
trees.
Maybe the Rotary Club could help? There are a lot of, we have a lot of assets in the borough that we're not using, and I think
So
that
that's
we.
the idea of identifying what other funding sources we can do some
Right.
of the work we need to do.
So, my thought is go with the necessity and then see how we can get those trees.
I think that's a good project for us to take on because it's not that huge.
Eventually.
Well, we expect them in 2017, we expect them this year.
What about the other one? 401?
So-
the other one.
Is that on you?
51 Washington. And what
That's
happens?
not O'Neill though.
And don't
Well,
forget,
it's been
that
moved.
eventually you're gonna have yours too,
But that's what he does.
that you had
Yeah, when they,
200,000.
getting ready to build that now, they're trying to open up the canal again. No, they gotta,
You'll have to dredge it.
no, all that dirt gotta be, what's it called, contaminated. When they fill the canal, when they fill the canal in, it was all, they just put anything in there. Now they're digging it up, it's all contaminated.
So what's the 191, just the fence on a third of it, or the
92.
portion of it?
Half of it, yeah.
A little over
Down
half.
11th and around Holland.
And
Would be along from the building, along 11th to the corner, up to the corner at the parking lot, and then just into the next section of wall and put a new gate in the back by the parking lot.
I like it.
I like the idea.
Does that include any sort of access control in that package?
Not electronic.
What did Stephanie ask?
She asked if it,
If that included any sort of access control for the gates, if you are thinking of putting in the track so that it can open and close?
It's a good point, Stephanie.
We actually had planned access control on the overall project, but I don't know if you.
yeah, I had some discussion with Siemens, and there's a couple different things that could be done. It could be a very smart system, of course, that could be tied into this building system and the same key cards and so forth, or it could be a standalone system, and that was kind of never really fully fleshed out to price it based on the level of intensity that we want to have in terms of security and access control at
My
that.
recollection was there was only going to be access at the one point.
Yeah, at the building side, I think. So,
Oh,
but
ballpark, what
this
would that
isn't.
cost?
And we wouldn't necessarily need it in the rear.
I gotta leave the room again. No.
We
A little
really-
more to chain and lock, right? that we
Yeah,
have
well,
there.
that's the idea,
But
but,
our original plan was to just have the access through the 11th Avenue side.
well, there would be gates on both sides, but not electronic, swipe card access controls. That would have to be something else that we'd have to look at with the people that did this building, if in fact we wanted to have it tied into the same system.
So the bottom line is, there was discussed to put access control like we have at this building, but it was not included.
Okay.
Therefore, and it's not included in these numbers either, correct?
Right.
So in this state, someone would need to lock and unlock the field.
Yeah,
If
presumably.
we were locking the field.
It'd be the same
moving
as it is
forward.
now, I believe, just by key. Yeah, by the
Call it the
master key.
stupid way.
What'd you say?
Call it the stupid way.
The stupid
With the
way.
lock and chain?
Oh. So wouldn't it make sense to have access
Yes,
control for
yes.
that field?
Yes,
So that somebody didn't have to lock and unlock it who
Yes.
doesn't live there anymore?
yes.
That's another question. What are we gonna do with that apartment?
Probably should deal with all of that. Like a
Just a
work.
thought.
Need so many park equipment.
All I can tell you is, I'm not in that business, maybe Bob could, but Eddie Phipps had estimated somewhere, in order to get that into shape to rent it, somewhere in the $30-some thousand range, that's why it's not on this list.
See, my thought, if we get utilizing that stadium again, I would like to open that second floor up and put glass up there, and we could put the lunch thing up there, and you can see out on the field. You go up there, you sit at a table, you get something to eat, and you can still see the game up there with all glass. It would be attractive, you know?
How much could that house, though? How many?
How many people?
It's pretty big. I'd say if you could get 50 people up
Oh,
there.
wow.
It's a big area up
Yeah,
there.
if you open it
Have you been
up.
up there, Colleen?
Not since I was a kid, but
Okay.
before,
I was up at the last party they
So-
had there.
so when we grew up, it was a family that lived in that. That's,
Yes.
it's big,
Yeah, it's big up there.
Not
Yeah.
small.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is kind of dilapidated.
I'm sure it probably hasn't been done since I was up there.
Yeah, you
so.
need to put, I would say to do it the way I want to do it, probably talking 100 grand.
So it-
But that's
something
down
we
the
can-
road,
That's
Yeah.
the future.
you know?
Right. So back to,
Access control.
yes, do we want access control?
I say
I
yes.
think if you go access control, it's not tied into this system, it'll be a lot less expensive.
Okay,
But, you know, I think you're anywhere just for one gate, you're like 10,000. If you try to tie it to this, based on what we've been going through here. I mean, if you remember the one gate out here, we tried to secure this lot, the lower lot, and that price alone was at almost $50,000.
So-
2 arms ago.
you're gonna have to explain to me a little bit how this access control is gonna work. Does the gate move?
Is it gonna be like the dog park?
Does someone still physically have to close it? I just.
No,
don't-
it's not like, for instance, the police gate that, it's not necessarily about the gate itself, it's simply about,
Swiping the card.
yeah, it's the same as these, you know, maybe the same as these doors here, where you have a swipe card, and then that deactivates the lock, but you still
So the
just.
residents are gonna have to have it? I'm lost on what we're using it for.
Well, I was thinking that it would have a timer where it would open at a certain time and then lock at a
There you
certain
go.
time on its own. That was what
And
I was
who would
envisioning.
have the fob or whatever
That would
would?
be separate, yeah, what we've been talking about, I mean, it's a little, you can do that, that's different from the fob.
Like each user having their own access.
For
That
example,
might be
you know,
cumbersome to take care of, though.
We'd have to have somebody keeping track of who has it and
Yeah.
whether they pay for it.
I don't know, the gate and the key are not that bad.
I mean, I think the main, so the only reason why I said that is because if you are going to invest in the Anfield track project, where you want the residents to be able to utilize it on a certain time schedule for whatever you set, there's going to have to be a way for them to get in and get out. So it's not so much of a key fob system, but more of like the idea of the separate park bathrooms, where they unlock and lock at certain times that you decide upon, so that you can allow access and allow exit.
So they're on-
I'm understanding the unlock and lock. I'm not getting who closes it.
It does it automatically.
That's automatically.
That's what I asked. Does it close the gate?
Just like the back, I don't know what the actual mechanisms look like, but the concept, and I don't know.
And that's the difference. You're talking about, this is a gate versus a door. The locker rooms are the doors. The doors close and the locks come down.
Right, the gates do not.
The gates do not.
See, we gotta make it attractive we gotta think about this. I mean, we can appropriate the money, but we gotta think about it. We wanna get away from the gates and locks and all that stuff. It turns people off. You wanna make it open to the public that this is their Rayfield. I mean, it's the taxpayers' property.
Right.
We wanna make it attractive, but we don't want people vandalizing it, so we gotta get a little creative what we want to do, because them big ugly gates are just, and then we got the big chain on it with the big lock, you know.
We have a I don't call it a pedestrian gate at the police station. It's the same way. It's on a lock mechanism. You can swipe it or you can go in.
That's an arm, isn't it? Is that an arm?
Just
or?
On the small gate, yeah.
Small gate, yeah.
So like
Well, we
three
can,
of
we
the
can
lot. But my
create
point is,
something.
it's not a $2,000 thing. It's typically anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000.
All right, so let's put $10,000 in on top of this number, or 15 to be safe, and move on, and then we'll.
Right.
We'll work on it, we'll tweak it.
Harvey, did you have something you wanted to
I
add?
was gonna say, if you're gonna open it up to the public, why wouldn't you open it up to the public and just have a video camera so that if there is damage, you will have a documentation,
There you go.
who it's done.
I thought originally,
Eliminate the gates altogether.
Yeah,
I thought originally that's what we were doing, so.
yeah. That's a good idea, video.
it's just
Cameras,
leave it
everything's
open.
cameras today.
Whatever you like. The question is,
How much
how much do you want to appropriate to it?
Well, we're just putting 15,000 on it for now.
Okay.
So it could be for either the
Yeah.
access or cameras.
Cameras, I like the camera thing, what Harvey said, because everything's
And do it
cameras
like little
today.
loops, so if something happens, we'd
Happens, yeah.
have it for 24 hours,
24
so we could
hours.
see who did what. I would give more security also.
Yeah,
Before,
women
is
working.
that,
And
does everyone agree?
I think our
15,000,
police
add
officers are
15?
more than happy to keep an eye on that. Right?
What are you getting at?
But also, keep in mind, you'll have to
Can you
keep
what?
it lit.
That's-
yeah,
Right.
we are,
Right, so
yeah.
that's kind of operating expense.
You'll have to keep it lit.
Not all night, but
Not all night.
What do you think, 10?
9.
9.
Once you
Nine.
start shutting down lighting systems at attracts, gives you areas of opportunity where you don't want.
What if you have low light?
The track project includes lighting.
Well, we can put
I
night
mean,
lights.
low light.
Yeah, low light, not,
Yeah.
not, no, not stadium lighting.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
leave them on.
yeah. We gotta tweak it, let's
And if
just
there's-
move on.
So we'll just put the.
So I
put the
put it from
15
101 to
and then for
205,
one
so
of-
it's at
A
205.
solution to.
Yeah,
205.
Okay.
All right, so bottom line is, Paul, if you would then, run through the totals for council based on what was added, what was detracted, and what the new number is.
All right, so let's see, the first category, we added the CMAC,
So that number's now 170.
170. Second category, we slashed the A-field fence down to 205 and eliminated the Sutcliffe Park widening.
So that went from 1,777,758 to
741,008.
7 what?
741 and $8.
the Borough app.
Added
Survive.
the Narberth.
Right, so that's now 38,920.
Yep. Nothing changed in Public Works and PD.
All right, so the new bottom line total is,
1,062,728. So for all intents and purposes, down 200,000 from where we started.
1 million?
1,062,728.
Pretty good.
we added 100 back. We took a lot out of the, Colleen giving up on the A-field, cut a lot. So we dropped, that million went from million to 741. So we went up 100 here, but came down more than 200.
Right, exactly.
So, just at a high level, that could take us to about $1 million that we could roll then into 18. Because we were at 852-ish and
Ballpark it,
we did
yeah.
about 200, so we could potentially then at least
Add
have
millions, yep.
a
Going forward
starting point.
in the capital, on top of the
Correct.
capital reserve.
So we did good.
Anybody else see anything else they want to look at? I think we did everything pretty good.
No, I feel like we balanced our wants and needs very well, and we made some compromises that should serve us well going forward as a planning year. And we can look forward to next year, once we see midway through where we are, make our steps for the following year and follow up on what we had to cut this year.
And to that point about halfway, I actually think that one of the things I pointed out with Julie is we bumped her up $10,000. Quarterly financial reports, so that we don't, rather than waiting for mid-year, actually do it quarterly.
Okay.
something we had taught, Julie and I had talked about. So we put some additional money in for that. So I think you'll see quarterly updates. I mean, we don't have to, but I think more often than not is probably be better.
I think it's
Yes.
better.
Mm-hmm.
Do you anticipate any more, oh, I found this between now and January 1?
No, because we have been literally, money-wise, finding money?
No, not well, I'd love to
That would be
find,
awesome.
expenses.
Finding
Well,
more expenses.
Like, is there anything out there that gives you pause?
The only thing that has given me pause and agita for the last 2.5 years is this.
Yeah.
Other than this, no.
Right.
Okay.
And Mike,
Yeah, but at least we're utilizing this
on the
building.
new, on the new stuff going on.
It's something we have to look at.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to start I mean,
Oh, on that
we
note,
did a good job on this building.
Yeah.
for,
Thank you.
Everybody love it.
I do have something to tell you though, Bob. They are moving the meetings out of the Fellowship House.
Okay.
They're going to the YMCA conference room.
Oh, good.
The Democratic
The
meetings
Democrats
Any
will be held
Right.
now at the YMCA conference room.
Oh, so that connection worked.
How about that?
Okay, okay.
The question,
Okay.
does zoning and planning meet here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what I thought.
Are there any other meetings or committees that are in this building?
No, most are either,
Here, Fellowship
Joe
House.
Collins approved those other ones? Did he talk to you about that?
No.
No, everything else was over at the, at Leland and now either the community center or Joe has offered, Joe Collins has offered Marywood Park House.
So that's another thing that we have to think about for our future, is the whole Marywood Park piece of all of this.
Yeah, I don't want to throw a wrench into all of this, but, you know, one of the things I mentioned last week, there's no funding at all for anything with respect to Leland.
Other than the grant money.
You need to
Other
get
than
Joe
the-
Collins in about what's it called? You need to get Joe in
So,
about Marywood, so we know what's going on.
Well,
there.
I think they're scheduling a meeting.
Yes, I've
Yeah.
met with him twice, and
Yeah.
Tina was there Saturday. We went through the building, and he's collecting documents for us right now. That's where we left
All
it,
right.
that we need to find out exactly where we stand.
Can you I'm sorry.
Oh, so I did meet twice with Joe Collins, once with Rich, and then once with Tina, and we did a tour of the building. And it's so impressive. It's just really an amazing find. I know it's been there forever, but we really don't pay enough attention. They've done a great job taking care of the building, but they need sufficient, not just funds, but additional help in many different ways. So that'll be something I'll be talking to you about in the future.
Yes, it is.
I just want to share this with you. If you remember when I showed you the calculation, the valuation of a mill, I told you it's based on
Right.
total assessed value, and I'd be getting a number from the county. I had used 636, they're telling me, and I just want to show you, in quotes bolded, estimated, is 639. So, I mean, tax revenues might be just a smidgen up more than what you saw when this final proposed is done. And let's just hope that they don't reduce anything else. But other than that, I'll prepare the final proposed based on all of the changes. That will be advertised. It'll go into the newspaper for no less than 10 days next week, and then it'll be formal adoption on if you vote to accept the proposed budget as worked through to be advertised as the next item. If you're done, that would be the next item on the agenda for you to do.
Do you need a motion, Rich?
A motion to approve the fiscal year 2017 proposed budget and advertise the same as all the numbers have been finalized through the last two meetings and that's.
I would make that motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Our motion carried. Any public comment?
Oh, any public
Sorry.
comment? On the budget? Could you step up to the podium, please? Name and address?
Hi, good evening. Steve Curran, 315 Spring Mill Avenue. Ms. Sokolowski, you said you're trying to spread the funds for the parks into the 4 quadrants. I only heard Mary S. Wood Park in the last one sentence that you said at the end right before they approved it. What is the plans for that park? And there's nothing in the budget for that. Thank you.
I can explain that.
So go ahead.
That park was always
Taking,
a separate entity. We do own the property, but there's an endowment that's in trust, Mike, right? Mike can explain it better.
The borough has owned the property for over 100 years from the estate of Mary Wood, and her will left us the land, the house, with a lot of restrictions that has to be kept as recreation space for public park and whatnot. There was also a financial bequest that was set up to be supervised by 3 trustees, and those trustees, invest and reinvest the money. And over the years, they have used that money to basically maintain the park. That was the whole intention. That the estate wanted the borough to have the property, but not have to necessarily subsidize it with taxpayer money. So what I think council's referring to, and if you take it just in the abstract, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but in context, when you realize that over the years, the endowment monies have been spent down, the rate of return on investments nowadays is not what it used to be. So I think what council's looking at is down the road, as the availability of that money becomes more limited, and the needs of the park are going to be maintained as a certain constant, that we're going to have to start budgeting within our monies to take care of that.
Yeah, I think it's part of the overall plan of what we're going to do with the community center and that whole area. So rather, it wasn't a park that was on the list for 2016 or 2017 based on how the ownership and the care of that park was, but it is a park that needs to be addressed. So I would say that would be rolled into the whole look at that community center and what has to be done in upgrading it and bringing things to where it needs to be for our community to actually use it as we are indicating it to be used. So although it's not in this immediate plan, it will be definitely part of the long-term planning for that community center.
So the plan is to have the borough start subsidizing it in 2018?
So, and Rich, you can help chime in, but the borough will be taking over some of the maintenance of it as we move forward. So there will be funds to do maintenance on some of the equipment, but right now, new equipment purchase isn't necessarily allocated for this 2017 year.
Yeah.
But in the past years, they did have some emergency things that they needed, and the borough, we always help them out because it is part of our borough. So if anything ever happens there in the meantime, before we start putting it in the budget, it'll be taken care of by the borough.
Thank you.
I think also what I was looking at, we consider the whole block Marywood Park, and we are putting $75,000 or $90,000 into the equipment inside the Fellowship House.
So for us, it's all one.
Right, for us, it's all one project, and also the money for the seniors with the bingo. We're trying to serve all the populations in different ages, so I think this year that's what we were looking at for that certain block of our town. But thank you, and we'd be happy for you to come back with ideas. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any more public comment?
Is now an appropriate time to ask a question about Park Mobile?
Look, come up to the what's called, please.
As a, 351 West Fifth Ave. As a commuter into Brandon, as a commuter into the city, I was curious why the decision for Park Mobile when Philadelphia is using Pango.
We did not look at Pango. I will tell you that we explored Park Mobile with the offer that Park Mobile was giving us in terms of upfront dollars. Frankly, that's all we looked at.
Right.
If we haven't signed anything with him, if you think Pango is something that would give us better value, I'm happy to talk to them.
Sure, yeah, it's something that, I use, my colleagues use on a regular basis, and it's, Park Mobile seems to be just one more thing I would have to put on my phone, one more account to set up, so it might be interesting to check it out.
I will, if you get me the information.
Sure.
I'd love to look at it. I will tell you, though, that our public services director and I, but him in particular, really tried to make sure that we had no cost.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
And I can't speak to that, but I'd be happy to pass on information.
but I'm happy to look into it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any more public comment? Okay, Rich?
Okay, last item under new business is to consider a motion to approve special counsel, in this case, Mr. Nassiter and Obermeyer, for continued participation in the pending appeal of Provco Pineville Fayette LP from the August 10, 2016 decision of the Zoning Hearing Board for the purpose of monitoring and reporting on the status of the appeal, and to not take any active role or position regarding the merits or substance of the appeal absent further direction from Borough Council. And Brittany, just for the record, in the last sentence, of the is being stricken from this motion. Okay.
I got a question on the motion.
What I was just, because this is litigation, I really can't go beyond the motion here. We can always go to executive session. I can fill you in on what I heard today. But with respect to the motion, yes.
I'm in favor of doing it the one time, but I'm not in favor of spending another $188,000.
Well, and the way this is framed is they are monitoring and reporting the status, and each time, through council through me to them would authorize any actions. So
I just think we have attorneys on both sides, I mean.
Well, actually, if we could go in after this meeting for a very brief executive session, there were some discussions I had this afternoon. Haven't had a chance to talk with you yet, but that I want to make you aware of.
Okay.
So if we can, once you adjourn.
Actually, that's in a public filing, right? Ross has filed that as with the court?
I believe so.
Okay, so in broad abstract terms, the reason why Rich is encouraging you to approve the motion is because the fact that the borough intervened in the appeal, consistent with what you're about to do tonight, is now being used by the applicant in an argument to the court to exclude the neighbors, the residents who are interested parties, from being able to intervene in the appeal. The argument they're making is, well, the borough's already taken a position, or they've involved themselves, so nobody else needs to involve themselves, which is a little disingenuous because we're not taking a formal position, and I think before that argument gets legs, it would be important for Mr. Nassiter to be able to inform the court that our intervention should not be read as an endorsement or opposition either way, and that those residents who may have an interest are entitled to protect it, so that our appearance in the case doesn't overshadow their ability to become parties. So that's been made a part of a public filing, so I don't think it's necessarily an executive session issue. But that's the rationale behind doing this in a rather obtuse kind of way.
And that's why I was kind of talking sidebar, that was kind of the point of make sure it was okay. So, and this literally has been happening throughout the course of the afternoon.
Okay.
So this language specifically to not taking a position will do what he's accomplishing.
Okay, I make a motion. that we
I'll second
should-
that.
I got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Bob's opposed.
Bob's opposed.
I'm opposed.
This is a one.
One-
What does it say?
One nay.
Every time.
Well, the ayes got it. Motion, motion passed. I have a public comment on this? Okay, no public comment. All right. Anything else, Rich? Mayor?
Yeah, well, two quick things. Obviously, on behalf of my office, and I'm sure the rest of Borough Council, extend everybody a happy Thanksgiving next week. despite all this negativity up here tonight about the budget cuts, I can assure you that the Conshohocken Ambucks, along with the Mayor's Special Events Committee, will spare no expense. I mean, no expense will be spared. Next Friday, festivities will take place at Old Borough Hall, 5 o'clock.
Santa is coming.
Oh my gosh.
Santa's coming, and we didn't spare any expense there too. We put out the big bucks. But the festivities will start at 5. That will include chili and pretzels and snacks, and we'll do trivia for the kids. Depending upon the weather, northeasterly winds, Santa's scheduled to arrive somewhere around 6 to 6:15. So weather permitting, come on up, give it a good time. Help with the police, the fire police, and the fire department. We should have a good night.
Awesome. Great.
Colleen?
I'd just like to wish council and the residents happy Thanksgiving.
Mary?
I would like to thank everyone for today, especially. We had a wonderful Thanksgiving celebration at the community center at the Fellowship House for our seniors. It was over 100 people attended, and I can tell you that people were praising the food and very much enjoying the companionship. I think that's something that we offer to our community, and I especially want to thank Charles Maschio, Stephanie, all the great staff at the Fell and the volunteers. And generous donations from the Great American Pub, also the, I lost my spot, the Conshohocken Italian Bakery, and Bob picked up the rolls. And we had homemade cookies from Joe Petri and Rose DeRamo, and it was just a wonderful time to get together all the people. My only concern is that some people expressed the fact that they did not know about the luncheon. And Teresa, I want to thank you. Many people said that they saw it in the Country Courier, and that was very, very important. And you should have came today, if you could have, to talk to people. I think that you're being very well received in the community. But I was dismayed to follow up what, Rosemary, you brought up last month, that this should have been announced on our TV station, that we have the opportunity, we have the technology, but all of our announcements should be on a loop, that if you watch it for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, you see what's coming up the next month, the next 6 weeks. Santa should be on our TV channel so everyone knows, and it'll be, if I don't see it, one of my children will see it, somebody will give you a call. Not everyone has the internet. Many of the seniors said today, I don't go online, I can't be bothered. They get the newspaper, and thank goodness they get the Courier now, but they all watch television. So I think we have to optimize the technology we have available. And the other thing, I just think that we're bringing that close-knit family feeling back. And I think by participating more, people are starting to get that feeling that we are still a small town. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you for telling me. Candidly, I didn't realize it wasn't on the channel.
Right.
I will get with Kate
Right.
as she
Oh,
grows.
and it wasn't on the borough calendar either, because I looked this morning.
Yeah, it wasn't on. There were several places it
Right.
wasn't, because Steph did tell me.
Right. We
I will have
talked about it today.
I will have a conversation.
Okay, thank you.
The communications, or as Tina and I talked about on several occasions,
Right.
the communications plan, or how we're going to
Right,
disseminate,
to be consistent
is
across board.
kind of evolving.
Right.
And I will have that conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for telling. If I don't know, I can't correct it.
Exactly.
So I appreciate it.
Nita?
Rich, is there a way that, I don't know, you've been
Tina?
working
Yeah, I
on
do.
the plan.
Huh?
Is there a way to present what
Waiting
that
for her to get
plan may look like to us?
It's really not I hate to say this, I mean, we haven't developed a communications plan because we really haven't had a communications person dedicated to it that can work on it. So I'll have to develop it further. I mean, the strategy that we've been trying to use is all information that comes to us goes on all vehicles, whether it's the social media, the website, the TV. As you notice, we recently, working with Lero, who set up the system, you'll notice the TV channel is much more enhanced than it was a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really trying to use all of our, understand them, learn them, use them, and deploy them. And it's a work in progress, if I'd like to leave it at that, if I can.
I'd just like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and also remind you that there is a craft fair at the Fellowship House next Saturday, the day after Santa arrives. And that needs to go on the Leland Mansion board that
Oh,
Santa
yeah.
arrives next Friday.
But they usually put it up there.
Did you put it up?
Toys for Tots is going up tomorrow for Sunday, and on Monday, the Santa will arrive, will go on that sign.
Thank you.
That's what the schedule is now.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to say that we had a really nice week. We started the week with a Veterans Day celebration that was absolutely wonderful, and the attendance was there for the beginning of a week. So I was really proud to see that our borough does support our veterans and will continue to support our veterans. And a happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Karen?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
I don't have any constituent issues or anything else to add, so hope everyone has a very nice long weekend.
And I like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and remember the less fortunate if you can, and help them out if you can. Anything else? Any public comment?
Hi, Rosemary Northcutt, 112 East 6th Avenue. And I attended the Thanksgiving feast today, and I want to say thank you, Jane, for expressing how important it is that we communicate with people. I just found out about the Thanksgiving feast when I was looking for something else, saw it on the Facebook page. It was posted October 25th, and it was never posted again. And so it never appeared anywhere on the borough website, and it never went out as an email to people. So I put it out to as many people as I could, and it was great that we got, Teresa got it into the Courier, and so that people found out about it, a lot of other people, just Friday. And so it's key that we have that communication. And then the other thing I want to say is, with the seniors and the bingo, that's one group of people. So that having the bingo board isn't going to be accessing all of our seniors. And Colonial School District sends out mail to inviting all the seniors to come to the events at the high school, going to the musical programs, etc. And I really think we need to actually send some things out in the mail, because that's the way you get to everybody who doesn't go on Facebook or doesn't access the borough's website. And so they're not going to get the email notices either. So that I think sometimes we really do have to do the mail. And for the next big event that's going to happen and seniors are invited, that's the way I think we need to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more public comment? You still want to executive?
No.
You don't need it now? No more public comment? Well, last word, like I said, meeting adjourned.
Great American Pub, yeah, the turkey and the stuffing.
And it was yummy.
It was good, and Charles and